Hello, dear students. I welcome you all on behalf of Sri Jayendra Rangjong classes. Dear student, we are in a continuation of the chapter that is ecosystem, and we have already covered major topics of this chapter. In today's, we are going to talk about the ecological succession. See, by hearing a term, what it simply defines that we need to understand. Just imagine that suppose one area is there, there is a no life, there is a barren area, or an area where a forest fire happened and it was destroyed, and now there is no vegetation or no life. Now, after certain years, you will see the development of forest there. So, this sequence of events which occur from this barren area to the forest development, this all sequence are considered under the ecological succession over this particular area. So, ecological succession is the term which is given by Hult, and you also know that biotic community, ecological succession. So, ecological succession in this, there are different communities. So, this biotic community seldom means rarely static. Means at one place you will not see only one type of biotic community only. It getting replaced over the time. So its composition changes with the time due to interaction between biotic and abiotic components. So this change in the particular biotic community of particular area is orderly and sequential and parallel with the changes in the physical environment. As the environment changes, the type of particularly we can say the community is going to grow or a species is going to grow. So this changes led to the finally to a community that is near equilibrium with the environment. It is called a climax community. So what will happen? Initially, one community will come, it will grow, it will get replaced by the other higher community, which is in more equilibrium to the environment or more susceptible to the environment. And at last, the final community which will come that is known as climax community. And such gradual and fairly predictable, we remember, it is a predictable change in the species composition of a given area over a period of time, and which is a gradual event. It is known as ecological succession. So predictable change. What first community will come, then second community will come, third, fourth, fifth. In that particular, which community will come, and ultimately forest will form. That all predictable changes and gradual changes in the species composition of an area is given called as ecological succession. Now, during succession, you will see that During succession, you will see that some species colonize an area and their population become more numerous, whereas the population of other species decline and even disappear. So one species population get increase in number, one population become dominant, and it is occupy the space which is particularly formed or left due to the removal of the other species. So the first biotic community that developed in the bare area. Suppose a bare area we are going to generate a life. The first biotic community is going to grow. It is known as pioneer community, and we will see that it is a lichen in the bare rock, or in aquatic habitat we will see the phytoplanktons. They are the what particularly pioneer community. Now pioneering community is followed by a specific orderly sequence of series of plant communities. Means after pioneer community, after lichen, several particular communities will come, okay, one by one, okay, and at last climax community will come, that is a forest. So between the climax and pioneer community, the communities which are coming here in orderly sequence, they are known as transitional communities or settled communities. The entire set of community, whole the community, pioneer, then serial of transitional and climax community, all combinedly known as series. Okay, so the last community in biotic succession which is relatively stable, the last community is more stable and is in harmony with the environment for of that area is termed as a climax community, and it is usually a forest. This climax community is also called as climatic climax or climax community. All successional processes lead to a similar magic climax. Now magic is neither too dry nor too wet. It is neither too dry, it is neither too wet. Okay, and that is called what magic condition. That is called what a magic condition. So that magic condition Well, if there is aquatic condition, then also it will reach to the magic one, then to the dry or forest. And if it is a dry area, then also from dry, the slowly it will move towards the magic condition. So succession hence a process that starts where no living organism, and then initially there is no living organism, but we are going to develop over a period that particularly we can say the organism develop over a period of time. Now, so what is succession? What is pioneer? What is cell community? What is biotic community? What is climax community that you have all understood? Now we are going to talk about the type of biotic succession or type of ecological succession. And depending upon the nature of habitat of it starts, nature of habitat of it starts, where it is starting. It is of two types. First is xeroseries. It is starting in the terrestrial habitat, and the hydroseries start in the aquatic habitat. Now in xeroseries also it further of different type in which we will study lithoseries which occur on the barren rock. If there is no life on the barren rock and the life develop over a period of time by the changing of community, then it is a lithoseries. Samoseries term is used if it starts on the stem, and halloseries if the succession starts on the salt marshes and it is a physiologically dry soil. So where it starts, from where which habitat it starts, based on this, these namings are given. Another classification is that based on the nudity of area. Okay. So type of nudity of area. Now nudity meant was exposure of area. So it is of two type, primary succession and the secondary succession. So first, if we talk about primary succession, it start at barren area, never having vegetation of any type. An area which do not have any type of vegetation, there was no growth of a plant or any organism till now. That area is known as barren area, and in that, if the primary succession starts, if the vegetation develops, then it is known as primary succession. So the example, if you take cold volcanic lava, sand dunes, igneous rock, newly exposed sea or newly submerged terrestrial habitat in water, etc., are the areas where primary succession starts. These are the all areas where primary succession starts. And it is very difficult for a pioneer community to get established in this area, and thus it takes a very long time. It is very difficult for the pioneer community to get established in this area. It thus takes a very long time, and it will take primary section will take an overall longer time. And these are the examples which where the primary section can occur. In secondary section, if we take, it starts at the habitat which become barren secondary, means there was a life, but due to the destruction of this earlier vegetation under the influence of natural calamities like forest fire, volcanic eruption, earthquake, landslide, flood, and due to these regions or due to overgrazing and leaving the crop fields uncultivated for a long period. So due to this, what happens? Initially, there was a life, there was a vegetation, but this vegetation lost due to this natural calamity or overgrazing like things. Now there is a no vegetation, and if their particular vegetation will grow, then it is known as secondary section. Now, due to the death of the earlier vegetation, these habitats are fertile, rich in organic matter, and inoccupied by certain organisms. So, secondary succession thus starts quickly, and the climax community is established in a short span compared to the primary succession. After this, two type or more are there: autogenic and allogenic succession. If we talk about autogenic, allogenic, when the community replaces the other due to the modification of the environment by the community itself, that is internal factor, the succession is called autogenic. Means environment is not changing the community, environment is same, but community are changing, community interacting in a way, they having some properties such like due to which they are particularly modifying the environment due to their particular the communities are replaced in that area, then that type of succession is known as autogenic succession. Means that is done by community itself. On the contrary, when the community replaces the other largely due to the forces other than the effects of community, means if a community is not involved in this, okay, means environment itself or a change in environment is responsible for this particular section, that is known as allogenic section. But if the community itself are responsible, then it is autogenic section. So this is the all types of succession and what is succession that we have understood. How the life is going to be developed in a barren area or where there is no life. Okay, what types are there that we have discussed, but how the one community replaces the other and how this whole process goes on, that we will understand in the process of succession. Major steps in the preliminary autotrophic succession are as follow. Autotrophic, primary autotrophic succession means we can say the autotrophic organism one more. Then what we call autotrophic succession. Just these are the, not we can say primary or we can say the steps of succession. First, the area should be exposed. So that is a nudation. So suppose this is the area which is getting exposed for the suction because there was no life initially. So that is a area. Now after this, the seeds and spores, another structure will migrate to this area. So this is second phase, which is migration, which is a process of dispersal of seeds, spores, and other structures of propagation of the species to a bare area is known as migration. They are coming from other side to here. And if spore and this seeds and other propagules will come after coming on this particular exposed area, they are going to germinate when the conditions are favorable. Okay, so third is germination. After germination, what will happen? The successful germination of propagule will take place and its establishment in bare area will occur. So this establishment of successful germinated propagules, it is known as SSS. After this, the SSS, this particularly established, they will grow and the individuals of the species increase in number as a result of reproduction. This will produce their life and they will reproduce. Due to the reproduction, that number will increase, the colonization will occur, and they will increase. So aggregation is also going to take place. After aggregation in that particular area of different particular, we can say organism, now, due to limited resources, the species show both inter and intra-specific competition. Okay, so inter and intra-specific competition will take place. Due to inter and intra-specific competition, the unsuitable and weaker plants will get eliminated from that community. So if the weaker and competition will occur and ultimately action will occur and the weaker ones will eliminated, so the spaces will be left by them and various other types of plant try to establish in the spaces left by the elimination of the previous plant due to the competition. Whatever the previous plant have been extincted or removed and the spaces left in that particular area that will be filled by the new plant types. That is the invasion of the new species. Then the newly arrived species and the already existing species will interact. So the newly arrived plants interact with the existing one. As a result of the reaction, environment is modified. Okay, interact in the environment to good and become unsuitable for the existing community. So when it becomes unfavorable for the existing community, the sooner or later it is replaced by the another community. And such things keeps going on. So that is a reaction. After reaction, the new species now get established and the previous one got extincted. The process will continue by replacement of the that species by another one. Then the higher community will replace the previous one, and such keeps go on in the serial community. And the process when the final climax community become more or less stabilized for a longer period of time, and it can maintain itself in equilibrium with the climate of that area, then this climax community have reached, and as compared to transitional community, the climax community have larger size of individual. They are forest, they have trees, or generally complex organization. They have complex food chains are there, food web are there, and more efficient energy use also there, and more nutrient consumption are there. Means it is the most stable and more equilibrium with the environment. That is the climax community, and that gets stabilized. Such a way several years will take, this particular succession will take several years, okay, hundreds of years it can take, okay, and ultimately the new community or forest will be formed. Now in this we have different types of, we can say, the succession, and in this first we are going to talk about the zero series. Zero series means it is starting in the dry area, and in dry area also we are going to talk about the first majority on the bare rock. So when a succession start on the bare rock, it is called a lithosphere specifically. So in xerosphere also we are going to understand the lithosphere. Okay. The various zero stage in lithosphere are as follow, or xerosphere are as follow. First, on barren rock, the lichen will come. So the first stage is the lichen stage. So suppose this is the barren rock. Okay. In this barren rock, the first you will see that the spores or the propagules of the lichen will come and sit on this particular rock. Now, pioneer lichens are such habitats are usually crustose lichens. So first, the crustose lichen will come and settle on this rock, and this crustose lichen examples are the graphis and rhizocarp. Now, when this crustose lichen will particularly grow on this, the propagules of this lichen settle and get established on the wet rock surface soon after the rainfall. Obviously, this will also be that is not on the dry rock. They will settle on the wet rock. That is the propagules of the lichen. After the settling, they will release some of the acidic substances. Okay, lichen will release some of the acidic substances that corrode the rock surface, forming a smaller depression and release of minerals needed for the growth of lichen. So it will form some crevices or corrode it, and in that it will add some of the minerals as well as the small depression will develop. So now it is also known that this lichen has an ability to tolerate a desiccation, that is a water loss and the high temperature. So they can live in this barren area. And the dead and decaying organic matter of this lichen, along with the sand particles brought by the wind. So dead and decaying of organic matter will occur, accumulate in this crevices or depressions due to the death of the lichens, and along with some sand particles which are brought by wind are get accumulated or get collected in the depression and form a little bit of soil by mixing with the weathered rock particles. So see, this is the rock. Now this rock is weathered. Okay, small depressions are there. In that, some organic matter due to the death will accumulate, the sand will accumulate, and ultimately soil will form. So this way the lichen will grow. Now, after the crustose lichen, the habitat has some soil component. So the foliose lichen is able to grow. So it is suitable for foliose lichen like Parmelia. And after the crustose lichen, foliose lichen compete with the crustose lichen and slowly replace the latter due to their larger size. So foliose lichen are larger in size. So the crustose lichen get replaced by this foliose lichen. Now they increase the shedding of rock, they increase the weathering of rock. This which one? Folios like it. More accumulation of organic matter will take place. The organic matter will accumulate, and the formation of larger depression will occur. So now, due to the formation of larger depression and more of the organic matter, now this habitat will be suitable for the other higher community. So this accelerates the process of soil formation and makes the habitat more suitable for the next stage. Okay, and that is the mosses. So these lichens are the pioneer communities which were developed. So see, this is the bare area. Now lichens have developed, and after this mosses will develop. After mosses, we will see that particularly annual grasses are developing, then perennial grasses are developing, then shrubs will develop, and then ultimately trees will develop. We will discuss one by one. So initially crustose lichen, then foliose lichen. Now foliose lichen will have a more, it will accumulate more soil components, so the mosses are able to grow. So next stage will be for the mosses stage. Due to the interaction of foliose lichen, the habitat become suitable for the hardy mosses. We remember which one? Hardy mosses. That is Tortola and Gremia to grow. Now hardy mosses grow. So mosses being larger in size, they are larger in size and having a gregarious habit, shed their lichen and replace them. So this mosses, specifically hardy mosses, will replace the this lichen, that is foliose lichen. Now the rhizoids of this particular mosses will penetrate deeper, and the growth of mosses will occur, and that lead to the accumulation of more soil and more organic matter due to the depth of the, and which can retain moisture for the longer span. So now the organic matter is there, and they have ability to retain moisture, and soon the habitat is occupied by the moisture loving mosses, that is hypnum and brag. So first hardy mosses will come, they will replace the folios like it, and hardy mosses, after the hardy mosses, the moisture loving mosses will grow. After the mosses, during the rainy season, the compact mat formed by the mosses on the weathered rock retains sufficient moisture. So sufficient moisture will be retained by these moisture-loving mosses on the weathered rock in the rainy season. And so this habitat become more suitable for the germination of the seeds, the annual grasses and hardy herbs. So this seeds will grow like Arista, Poya, and Eleusine, and when this particular plant will grow or herbs, these hardy herbs will grow, their root will penetrate deeper and they cause a more weathering of rock. Again, they also do the same. They replace mosses, they grow for a couple of months and their death and decay result in increased organic matter. So organic matter increases, this mixes with the weathered rock particles to form a soil and thus process of soil formation continues. And now there will be a much more soil than the previous stage. So now this will be more suitable for the what the other higher plants. So after annual grass growth, the perennial grass will grow. So the perennial grass stage will come, and due to increasing moisture and soil in rock crevices, annual grasses are replaced by the perennial grass. Annual grasses are those grasses whose lifespan is of just 1 year, but perennial grasses are those grasses whose lifespan is of so many years. So this grass is like heteropogon, symbopogon, etc. spread very fast due to the presence of runners and rhizome, and these are the perennial grass stage or perennial grasses. After those perennial grasses for so many years, you will see that these perennial grasses will make a habitat more suitable for the higher plants. So, habitat occupied by the perennial grasses soon becomes suitable for the invasion of xerophytic shrubs or dry shrubs like Ziziphus, rubus, rus, caparis. Okay, and when this particular becomes suitable for the shrub, this shrub should get established in such habitat, replacing the perennial grasses. So shrub will establish and they will replace the perennial grasses. So as shrubs are larger in size, their root penetrate obviously more deeper. They cause more fragmentation of rock or weathering of rock, and more accumulation of soil will take place. So soil formation is continuing like this. Now, at the shrub stage, the already mostly majority, a high amount of soil has already formed. So now this will be able to grow a climax stage. So shrubs are soon replaced by the hardy trees. Soon the atmosphere become more moist due to large amount of water transpired by large sized trees and ultimately the community. So atmosphere will become moist, which is relatively more suitable occupies the habitat and relatively more stable occupies the habitats. And this is termed a climax community. So climax community will be forest or trees. So the nature of climax community is by the climate variety. Which type of climax community will come there? That is based on the what? Climates of that area. Okay. So this is the what particularly we can say a zero Sire or lithocere in this. Now you have understood that this sequence you should remember that ordered and predictable sequence, that what is the pioneer community. So what we have understood till now, which communities are coming one by one. First is crustose lichen, then foliose lichen, then hardy moss, then moisture loving moss. Okay, then after this what we can say, annual grass. Okay, then perennial grass, then shrub, and then particularly we can say trees. Okay, so this is the perfect sequence from the lichen to this. And we know that crustose lichen and foliose lichen, these are the pioneer community, whereas this is the climax community, and these are the serial or transitional community. So this is the sequence that you should remember. This is the one of the important question. Now, succession of aquatic habitat, that is hydrocere. In hydrocere, how the succession will occur? So various serial stages are as follow. In the first thing, the pioneer community will come, and the pioneer community includes here a plankton stage. So if the clear water is there, aquatic habitat is there. In this, the first organism which can grow if there is no life, then there is a plankton stage. So pioneer of hydrocere or aquatic habitat are phytoplanktons. And what are phytoplanktons if we ask? They are the minute microscopic autotrophic organism, minute microscopic. They have ability to synthesize their own food, and the examples are diatoms, unicellular, colonian, and filamentous green algae, and the blue green algae, that is cyanobacteria. This will all act as a phytoplankton and they will grow first in this aquatic habitat. Now, the spores of this organism reach the newly formed pond through a wind or animal. Obviously, their spore will reach to the pond and they multiply in this particular area rapidly. Now, the pond, if you talk, with the water containing large number of phytoplankton, this pond water contain a large number of phytoplankton becomes suitable habitat for the zooplankton because this phytoplankton get eaten up by the zooplankton. So this zooplankton which feed upon the phytoplankton, thus maintaining the balance. Okay. So this way the phytoplankton will not increase or too much. So this phytoplankton and zooplankton, that is the plankton stage, this is the pioneer community, the first community which is going to grow. And with this, the death of this plankton is also going to take place, specifically zooplanktons. Then the organic matter formed by the death and decay of planktons, particularly zooplanktons, mixes with the clay and silt at the bottom of the pond and forms soft mud. So at the bottom of the water body, you will see that there is a formation of soft mud. Now, this soft mud habitat becomes suitable for the growth of the next stage. So, in water habitat, after the phytoplankton, zooplankton will come, and after zooplankton, you will see that some submerged plants are growing. Now, with the formation of soft mud will occur due to the death and decay of this zooplankton at the bottom of the pond. Now, the habitat becomes suitable for the growth of anchored and submerged plant, means which the plants which can get submerged in this bottom. So, this bottoms you can see here, they have mud. So now this particular plant will grow in this. They are the submerged plants, and these are the hydrilla and potamogenol. So they are anchored in mud and form a dense growth. More silt get deposited around the plants, and the accumulation of silt along with the decomposition of organic matter formed by the decay of the submerged plant make us fertile and raises the bottom level. So what will happen? The death of the submerged plant will occur. Their death will also get also decomposed, and the organic matter get accumulated at the bottom. As the organic matter get accumulated at the bottom of this pond, this the level of this particular soil is also rising. Water body is rising. After the water level rises, after this in a submerged plant, the free floating submerged plant will come. These are the free floating submerged plant. So they are free floating. So in the pond where the water becomes shallow, anchored plants with the leaves floating, anchored plant with the leaves floating start growing, means they are the floating plants, and replace the plant submerged stage which migrate to the deeper water in the plant. So submerged plant will go to the deeper water, and this submerged plant and submerged free floating plant now will grow. Now this submerged free floating plant have a subterranean stem like rhizome and corm. With the growth of this plant, water become richer in mineral and organic matter, and the habitat becomes suitable for the free floating plant. Means due to the what rhizome and corm of which one? The floating plant. The accumulation will occur, the level will increase, and this become available for the free floating plants, that is the lamina, azolla, wolffia, and econi. As this time goes, the water level is further raised due to the growth of the free floating plants. And as the water level increases, the accumulation of dead and decaying remains of this plant will occur. Water becomes much shallower at the periphery of the pond. Water will become much shallower at the periphery of the pond and become almost a marshy habitat. So, first phytoplankton, then zooplankton, then we can say the floating plant, and now the submerged free floating plant. Sorry, submerged plant and the submerged free floating plant. After this, you will see the reed swarm stage. So after free floating plant, you will see that this is the reed swarm stage. The periphery of the pond where the water is very shallow, at the periphery you will see a very shallow water due to the interaction of the free floating stage, and that is made by the free floating plants. So become suitable for the growth of the amphibious plant like Typha, Sagittaria, Phragmites, and Scripus. Amphibious plant means which have ability to grow in some of the magic condition, or which is not having too much water or too much dry. So this plant lost large quantity of water during the transpiration and produce a large amount of organic matter. Now, after the growth of amphibious plant in the reed swarm stage, you will see that the water level will become more shallow, and the peripheral area of pond built up by plant of the reed swarm stage is invaded by the cypress. So, peripheral part which is made by the reed swarm stage, that will be invaded by the cypress, carex, juncus, grass, and herbs like polygonum. You can see here this is the stage which is known as sedge or marshmallow stage. So that will come after the reed swarm stage. As the particularly at the peripheral layer, these plants will grow. The peripheral area of the pond occupied by a marsh meadow stage is invaded by the shrubs, which can grow in waterlogged soil and tolerate a bright sunlight. That is a cephalanthus or bottom brush. So it will grow after the which one? What we can say the marsh meadow stage. So further invite a invasion of trees which are capable of bearing bright sunlight and waterlogging like populus and illness. This is a scrub stage. So in this shrub will grow. After shrub growth, you will see almost the water body is almost shallow. They have got too much shrubs and all this. So at least the woodland stage will come. The woodland stage trees are replaced by the new trees. Woodland stage, shrub stage trees are replaced by the new trees which grow on the greater height. So nature of the climax community is determined by the climate. Rainforest is in the most tropical area and the mixed coniferous or deciduous forest in the temperate area. They are the climax community. So mixed tropical forest include the quercus, ulmus, acer, and gymnosperm like abies, taxus species that all will grow at the climax community in the water body or aquatic habitat or in the hydrosphere. So now in hydrosphere or you can see the community which are getting replaced from starting, that is phytoplankton, then zooplankton. Then after phytoplankton and zooplankton, you will see that of submerged or floating, submerged plants are there. Then submerged free floating plants are there. Then after submerged free floating plants, you will see that the amphibious plant will grow. That is a, you can say, reed swamp stage. Then marsh meadow stage. And after marsh meadow stage, shrub stage, and then at last, particularly we can say the climax community, that is forest or trees. Okay. So such a way, these all are replaced one by one, and this is the sequence. That sequence you should remember of the different stages: pioneer community, serial community, and the climax community. Okay, that sequence you should remember. And last, after the studying this ecological section, let's talk about the major trends during the ecological section. Major structural and functional attributes of ecological section are: when the ecological section will occur, there will be an increase in the species diversity because initially it was like plankton or lichens. Now they have a different type of trees, so species diversity increases. Structural complexity also increases because in climax community, though so many different types of plants are there. Organic matter is also increasing. Net community production is increases. Okay, net community production is decreasing. We remember this is one thing. Food chain relationship become complex because complex plant will come, so complex food chain will develop. Niche becomes specific and narrower. Niche means profession will become specific. Stability increases because it is near equilibrium, that is a climax community. And more immobilization of nutrient, mixed nutrient fixed with the biota, means the immobilization of nutrients, so the nutrient will not go away from the ecosystem. And there will be an increased energy efficiency. The energy use efficiency will be increased. So this is the what about the ecological section, and these are the trends. Okay, I hope you have understood this ecological section and the trends, and that is all about the ecosystems chapter. I hope you understood well. Okay, thank you, dear students.